I believe people when they say they hate writing their resume, as I am not convinced that writing about yourself is a natural thing. Most of us, and I am by no means saying all, have a humble streak that prohibits self-promotion. No matter how great our accomplishments in life, we take a most modest approach, compare ourselves to some vague and wildly successful fictional character, and underplay our existence. It's just human nature. So I found myself staring at the blinking cursor on my laptop. Writing a profile for a dating app just seemed like an insurmountable task. Sure, I can embellish a story with the best of them, but on some deeper primal level, I want to be honest. I want the reader, preferably a super-stacked widow, who is deaf, dumb, oversexed and owns a liquor store, to find an enticing mystery that signals the beginning of their last great love affair. Is that too much to expect? Might be. However, doing what I always told my kids not to do, I listened to a 1970s rock compilation on the television while I pondered what I was going to say. Then this song came on. One that I had formed a love/hate relationship with back sometime in 1978. The tune was catchy and refused to get out of my head. The lyrics were terrible for writing my totally awesome, never-fail dating app profile. It was a story of infidelity that led to the rediscovery of a relationship. Imagine two people quietly cheating on the other and finding out, when they finally meet, that the other was on the other end of the newspaper ads. Definitely, the wrong message to send to women who are looking for honesty and monogamy. But that is the question we, as men, have been trying to answer since the dawn of time. What do women want? Still, it was late and I was in one of those screw let's just see what happens moods. So I tapped my foot, hummed the verses, and borrowed from Escape, the Piña Colada song, written and performed by British-American singer-songwriter Rupert Holmes in 1979. Here is my profile, so I wrote to the paper, took out a personal ad, and though I'm nobody's poet, I thought it wasn't half bad. Okay, so no one takes out a newspaper ad in the personals anymore, but if I were to write one, I might say accomplished, handsome and creative dreamer, never a felon or druggie, have my financial and emotional life more than together, serves in the church and charities, loves dogs, restaurants, making memories in a room filled with laughter. In search of an equally stable romantic who is comfortable in who she is, enjoys political incorrectness, and sees a bright future in partnership with an imperfect guy. Loving Oreos, milk and Netflix is A+. Yes, I like piña coladas, and getting caught in the rain. My idea of the picture-perfect evening leans more toward sipping tropical drinks while we enjoy amazing sunsets in the Caribbean. But since that doesn't happen every day, looking into your eyes as we sip Kentucky bourbon around a campfire has a real sense of appeal. I believe this is the time of our lives where we still enjoy the adventure, and still savor the simple things that two people can share. Did I mention loving Oreos, milk and Netflix is A+. I'm not much into health food, I am into champagne. I believe in the perfectly grilled steak, the richness of béarnaise and letting the wine breathe. Add engaging conversation, a focus on family, and easy laughter, well, we just might have something. I've got to get you by tomorrow noon, and cut through all this red tape, at a bar called O'Malley's, where we plan our escape. One day I hope to find a smile that encourages me, an inner beauty that stirs my need to be a better man, a fierceness that can temper me, and a desire to create something wonderful together. But for the now, let's focus on the adventure and see where it leads. The fallout, I don't mind saying I was more than a bit proud of myself, as I have understood for some time that a successful sales communications capture the imagination. I was far more successful than I had ever hoped. The messages started pouring in. Most of the messages I received praised my creativity and uniqueness. It appeared I had written a distinctive profile. One that separated me from the pack. Even more interesting is that each note wanted me to know how she felt when she read the profile. Many told me how they hummed the song while they read. It didn't take long to realize I had succeeded in recreating for these women warm feelings that reminded them of their adventures when they were younger. And here is the great part, they were applying those feelings to me. My foot was in the door. The next question was, what do I do next? I decided I needed to quantify my success. I had recently joined a national widows group on social media. The group offered profiles of new members who talked about their relationships with their spouse and how they were missed. Many sought a new love. No one wanted to remain alone. Each one missed the closeness of a good relationship. So I entered my escape profile onto the site along with some recent pictures. And here are the results and the lessons I learned along the way. My profile received 2,284 views. 643 women and 3 men responded with messages. I found only one negative comment. The rest were bright and positive. I should mention at this point that the moderator shut the post down comments to the post sometime around the 2.5-day mark. The reason they cited was that my post was receiving all of the attention and they didn't want other posts to be ignored. After a week I went back to see if anyone else, men or women, had used a song to duplicate the success. No one had. I began analyzing and eliminating poor candidates within my sample group. Slightly over 87% lived more than an hour from my location. In my experience, nothing wonderful ever truly comes from a long-distance relationship. However, and this surprised me, it seems that impossible distances did little to dampen their enthusiasm. In fact, it seemed to embolden a few who took the opportunity to send suggestive offers. And while I have come to understand that young women more and more routinely receive offers for plane tickets to rendezvous with a total stranger, I was flattered but had some serious misgivings that I believed any 50-something widower might have. That left some 83 possibilities. I began looking at age as I wanted to be able to share similar life experiences. My wife had been 9 years younger than I was and set my parameter at no more than 10 years younger. Older women were equally as problematic. It is difficult to lose a spouse and I never wanted to have to go through that pain again. And while you may call it selfish, I eliminated all those more than a year older than I was. That left me with 24 candidates. Finally, I narrowed the field with own special evaluation standard. It's simple but works for me. As I looked at their picture, I imagined how I would feel waking up next to them. I wondered if I could feel the same love and contentment I felt when my wife was asleep. That cut the pool down to 4. My strategy was to then try to gauge the intensity of their interest. My message back thanked them for reaching out and that their interest made me feel good. I expressed my interest in starting a conversation. I received one response. That communication fizzled out after the next message. The lessons: communication is sales. To be successful, especially with women, it is important to focus on how they will feel when they read about you in your profile. The truth is that dating profiles were not designed for you to say what you truly feel or detail your life experiences. It is only to capture her imagination and create feelings that she can then attach to you. Women are driven by feelings and can rationalize reaching out to you even in impossible circumstances like long distances. I can't say I always understand it. There must be some safety in expressing interest to someone hundreds if not thousands of miles away. That certainly makes for a heck of a commute after dinner. Finally, and this is the unspoken truth with any dating site communication, the more messages, the less likely she will respond and you will get ghosted. And lots to talk about there. Is it just a numbers game? An argument could be made. A line I couldn't cross. I met my wife at work and from the very first day, I was captivated. Despite my being 9 years older and several steps above her in management, I just loved the way her hair bounced when she walked. After a year, and a painful divorce, mutual friends suggested we have lunch to see if anything developed. It did. And a little more than a year later, we were married. She became the love of my life. We had 17 perfect years before she was diagnosed with breast cancer. More than 6 years later, filled with doctor's appointments, surgeries, chemo and radiation, the battle was lost. I was devastated. It is difficult to describe the loss of the love of your life. I envision it as drowning in a bottomless sea with no hope of rescue. To alleviate my pain, I decided I needed to move forward and seek the company of other adult women. Not sure what I expected, to be honest. Sex was not top of mind. I simply wanted another adult to talk to and do things with. I only hoped that I could distract myself from my grief. Enter Bethany, medium height, serious pool tan and blonde. Her hair was cut long to frame her face and short in the back. Over the years, it had been my observation that short hair equated to no more interest in an active relationship. However, this was my perception, and just for the experience, I asked her to dinner. She had been divorced a year before and wanted a serious relationship. Her children were the same ages as mine. She was a teacher at a local grade school and we had a lot in common. Our dinner lasted almost 3 hours with no lags in the conversation. Then Bethany talked about her immediate family. Her father had passed 2 years previously from 3 types of cancer. She cared for her elderly mother, who also suffered from a cancer diagnosis. And to put the icing on the cake, Bethany had a brother and a sister. Both had passed from cancers. My head was spinning. One day turned into a week. A week turned into 3. Then I got a note from Bethany telling me that she enjoyed our date and wondered if I planned to continue our seeing each other. I confess I should have made a decision far sooner. It was unfair to leave her hanging. However, I couldn't imagine reliving another cancer battle. My heart was already broken. It took time, but I decided I couldn't do it again. However, in responding, I couldn't tell her it was her family history of cancer or my concern that I was afraid I would have to watch another woman die by inches. I apologized for being new to dating and claimed that I wasn't ready. Of course, I told her she was special and would find someone soon. Yeah, it sounded weak to me as well. The lesson I simply had not considered it, a potential mate whose family had a history of cancer. While the discovery sent me reeling, it forced me to ask the question of what I wanted my future to look like. Could I spend another 6 years sitting in patient rooms watching for the adverse effects of chemo or to treat ugly radiation burns? Call me shallow. I don't know if I could do it again. It has become a line I won't cross. I cannot watch another wife pass. So I decided that I would be the next one to go. That experience signaled that I needed to change my strategy. I began to develop a profile that I would look for. Dating would only be with younger women, who were healthy and whose family history was cancer-free. At this age, those conditions are not always easy. Renee lived about an hour away, was energetic but had had a double mastectomy and was still on the lookout for the cancer to return. Sorry. Lauren had been hit by a car some 3 years earlier. Her left shoulder had not quite healed and was showing signs of necrosis. She confided that one day she would lose the arm. Nope. Lonnie confessed after our first date that she had been diagnosed with a stage 3 brain cancer. I suggested that a new relationship was probably not fair to either one of us. She reluctantly agreed. I am not an ogre. I will send positive notes from time to time encouraging each of them to discover that they are stronger than she ever thought she could be. Spend time considering the red flags for health. What lines can you not cross?